Hey everyone, it is Dani'i and welcome to this update video. And so this morning we will be taking a look at our tropical disturbance now designated as Invest 94L. And so we will be taking a look at the latest update for it and the latest tracks from the models to see what the models are expecting in terms of its movement and intensity. We definitely have some changes to talk about. And so before I go into details, Alright, so what you're currently seeing is infrared satellite, and so there we have our disturbance, and so it is currently located to the southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands, and it is accelerating westward, moving at around 15 miles per hour thereabout. And so looking at the National Hurricane Center's 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook, we're seeing here that the formation chance has risen up to 60%, so it has been on the rise since yesterday, and so it is likely that maybe this evening this will be a high chance because it is currently at the medium range, so it is likely that maybe this evening we will see a 70% chance of development. So maybe it will become a depression by the early or the middle part of the coming week, and so it is definitely going to be impacting the Windward Islands. So it's starting to no longer be a question if the islands will be impacted. It's starting to be when will the islands be impacted. So maybe this thing here is going to be moving through as a tropical storm, and as it enters the Caribbean, there's starting to be some uncertainty in terms of the tracks. So let's take a look at the EC and the GFS ensemble tracks. So for the EC, we're seeing here that most of the members are in agreement that this will be moving to the west for the most part, maybe a bit of west-northwestward motion as it enters the Caribbean. But as we reach that point in the eastern Caribbean, we're seeing this variation. Some of the members taking it over into the eastern Pacific, some showing a northwestward motion up to the Gulf, and some are just taking it into the Latin American countries. And so there is somewhat of doubt now. So it really depends on many things, one of which is the high pressure system and how quickly this thing here is intensifying. And so looking at the GFS ensemble tracks now, we are seeing something a lot different. So there is a lot more variation with these tracks here, and so we see that we have quite a bit of them that take it generally westward as well. And then as we enter the Caribbean, some showing it going up, crossing over Hispaniola, going up to off the east coast right there, but majority are taking it through the Caribbean. And so we really have to wait and see what's going to be happening. Again, it all depends on that high pressure system, and I actually want to show you guys something very important on the actual model run, so let's move on to that right now. And so now we're taking a look at the model run for the GFS. So by Wednesday on the 29th, the model has this the system crossing over the Windward Islands with a pressure of 1,006 millibars. That's probably a tropical storm if it has that closed center of circulation, as well as enough thunderstorms associated with it for it to actually reach that threshold of being a tropical storm. And so we also see that high pressure system that is over the Atlantic. And so going on to Friday by the 1st of July, so a week from now, we see that we have that other high pressure that is located off the US, and so that is going to be helping to steer the system continually westward. So it is likely to be steered into the South Caribbean, and then GFS shows it eventually making its way over into Central America, Nicaragua in particular. And so this is by Saturday on the 2nd of July, and GFS is showing a minimum pressure here of 973 millibars. So that is the pressure of a hurricane. So maybe this system here is actually a long-term hurricane. We really have to wait and see, but it all depends if conditions are conducive in terms of that moisture content in the atmosphere, as well as the upper level winds. Now let's take a look at what the Euro run is showing. So again, this is by Wednesday, the 29th of June. Euro showing somewhat of the same thing as GFS, this 1,005 millibar low pressure system crossing over the Windward Islands. And so by Saturday on the 2nd of July, however, Euro is showing that it will have a minimum pressure of 982 millibars. That's probably hurricane strength as well, but weaker than what the GFS was showing here. We also see it showing that high pressure system off the east coast of the US, so that's going to continually steer it towards the west. And so we see that Euro and GFS are in the somewhat of agreement right now in terms of the track of this. But again, things can change. We are still pretty far out from this thing here when it is going to be crossing over into the Caribbean. So a lot of changes are inevitable. But for now, the two models that many persons talk about, Euro and GFS, they are in agreement. Maybe the intensity is off by a couple millibars, but the same general track is expected by both of the models. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the CMC model. So this one here is showing something very interesting. So CMC is showing that this thing here by Wednesday, it is definitely going to be a tropical storm here, maybe an more than likely an intensifying tropical storm moving over the Windward Islands. So we see that the three models, they're in agreement that this is going to be crossing over the Windward Islands. So if you're in any of the islands, guys, please be prepared for this, because this might bring some very dangerous conditions. Eventually, we're talking about that very heavy rainfall, those storm force winds, as well as that storm surge inundating coastal areas. So looking at Saturday by the 2nd of July, CMC has this thing here crossing between Jamaica and Haiti as a 993 millibar low pressure system. Very interesting here. So it is showing that high pressure system, and this thing here is basically trying to curve around it at this point. So we have that northwestward motion, and it is not showing that other high pressure system over off the east coast of the US as what GFS and Euro were expecting. But going to Sunday by the 3rd of July, here we have CMC showing that this thing here is going to be grazing the Cuban coastline as a 999 millibar low pressure system. Of course, if it makes that move, or overall, once it moves over land, we will likely have some weakening taking place because it is cut off from all of its fuel from the warm ocean waters. So without that, it is going to be weakening inevitably. And so going to Monday by the 4th of July, CMC is showing this making its way over into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And that's the end of it. So that's what CMC is showing. Meanwhile, again, Euro and GFS, they disagree. They're showing something definitely different. But in terms of 94L right now on satellite, we're seeing that, of course, it isn't the most organized. So as it continually accelerates into more conducive conditions, we will see a better satellite presentation. Eventually, as the system might become a tropical storm, possibly even a hurricane. And looking at the model intensity guidance here, we're seeing that all of these models are expecting that this will eventually become a tropical storm, and just a few are expecting that this will achieve hurricane status, 2 of them going all the way up to Cat 3. So let's wait and see what the eventual outcome is going to be, but things ahead of the system look quite favorable. So the Caribbean will most definitely be impacted by this. The Lesser Antilles, the Windward Islands, please be on watch. You will be impacted by this thing here as it's going to be making its way to the west. And so, guys, as for the rest of the Caribbean, we have to wait and see the eventual track of this because a lot can change between now and next week. And so that is really it for this update video on Invest 94L, likely to become Bonnie if it becomes a tropical storm, keeping that nothing else pops up and becomes a named storm before it. So I will be keeping you updated as time goes by. And so if you found this video to be quite informative, please give a thumbs up, and you can also share your thoughts with me in the comments or ask a question. I'll try to respond as best and as soon as I can. And of course, remember to always be weatherwise.